I will be the happiest person ever if people come to me before there's an issue. And many people I speak to, they don't even know what's their revenue. I don't know, approximately, how are you going to grow? The biggest killer of business is you run out of cash tomorrow, you're done. That's it. And that can be a big surprise.
How do I know, or like, why is this guy good and why is this guy bad? Like, where do you see that answer?
Good question. The most obvious sign is if you get fined. Your accountant probably is not doing the job right away, right? The speed at which accountants move. The traditional guys, they're typically slower because it's a manual process. You put yourself at risk of, I missed the threshold, I missed the deadline. And another issue with requests that are late is, what if your documents are incompliant? Accounting is based on supporting documents. Prep work is critical, right? Like the sooner you do all this stuff, the easier it will be. Founders wish that everything was done very fast. They kind of forget that it's a partnership, right? Accountants base their work on the documents that the founder provides, or the team, or somebody.
It's not accounting, having your books in order is not just about not getting fined. There's actually, if you do it right, a core business benefit to doing that. So could you give us that perspective?
That is indeed the problem, and I like to say that we're half an edtech company because I do talks, webinars, I try to educate founders, and oftentimes I come up to a new business owner and I say, hey, have you registered for corporate tax? And it sounds like I'm trying to sell something, but actually,
it does.
I kid you not, maybe 20% of the time they don't know what I'm talking about, and I save them a fine.
Vlad Sharuda is the co-founder and head of growth at Skrooge AI, a Dubai-based startup combining AI with human accountants to give SMEs the financial clarity that was previously only available to large corporations. In this episode, we get into how to spot a bad accountant before they cost you, why most founders have a broken relationship with their numbers, what the UAE's new corporate tax really means, and why they deliberately kept humans at the center of an AI product.
Thank you for having me. Hi, guys.
Thank you so much for your time, man, for coming on the show. So for the people who don't know, Vlad and I connected through Founder Connects. Shout out Ronnie and the community. Much love to everyone. And obviously we hit it off, right from our first call, and you were telling me all about Skrooge AI and what you guys are doing. So from what I understand, you guys are in the accounting tech space, fintech. Is that what you call it?
It is fintech, but there's no category for us, so we call ourselves fintech. It's essentially AI-powered accounting and tax services.
AI-powered and accounting tax services. Now, you've told me, I know a bit of your story from before when you spent time in Singapore and so on before coming in and getting into all this. So it's not like you're like, oh, I'm so passionate about fixing tax and like accounting, but you somehow ended up in that space. So for the people who don't know Vlad, why don't you give us like the story of how did we even get here?
Yeah, sounds good. So I'm originally a finance major, so I'm a finance guy. I know numbers. I don't necessarily love them so much, like many people.
Okay, fair. Okay.
I love some aspects of working with numbers, but definitely not accounting, caveat, right? Which is okay. I worked a little bit in investment banking and consulting, and then just transitioned into startups because I was joining the CEO's squad or the strategic team at one of the biggest travel techs in Eastern Europe. Had good investors, grew. I did analytical projects there, and then transitioned into marketing because it turned out that I could do retention marketing myself better than the guy I was helping out with.
You're bringing both kind of worlds together, I guess, in a way.
I brought structure and I could be creative.
There you go, exactly.
Exactly. So that's how I got into startups from the analytical and consulting background that I had. Started doing email marketing, retention, loyalty programs. And after a few years, I decided that I want to go a bit more international because that startup was in Russia. That was in like 2013 days. And I lived in Canada when I was a kid, so I spoke English and I wanted to do something more global. And I shifted to one of the Rocket Internet startups. Rocket Internet is a big German venture builder. And they're famous for building clones of successful Western startups. So in Asia, for example, they built Lazada, which is a clone of Amazon for Asia.
Localizing big international concepts.
Yes, and they're bringing them into emerging markets, scaling fast and capturing market share. Like Daraz in Pakistan or Jumia in Africa, they're all over the place. And they were very accepting of these ex-consulting backgrounds or some startup experience coming to any location in the world. That's how I ended up in Bangkok. Thailand, where I lived for 2 years. Very good times. I was in my 20s, so it was a perfect timing.
That's the best timing.
Exactly.
Best time to be there.
Exactly. Beautiful city, highly recommended. Very different to live there and then to visit. So
I could imagine big time. Yeah.
So I don't know if you've been.
I've been to Bangkok and I've been to Phuket, but I've obviously only as a tourist, not
So
haven't been too long
next
there.
time you go, I'll give you a list.
Yes,
of
please
things
do.
to
Please
things to
do. So down.
I love it, and I still try to visit every year if I can. Spent 2 years there. I was running digital marketing for a travel tech startup, and that was a clone of Oyo Rooms.
Okay.
For those of you that know travel, that's Indian unicorn.
Okay.
The concept of which was building a network of budget hotels
Okay.
by branding some rooms of budget hotels. Let me explain this. So, for example, you have John's Budget Hotel, right? No name, brand, budget, nobody knows it. And then I come to you and say, hey, John, 40% of your rooms are usually empty. How about I rebrand them as, the project was called Zen Rooms. Zen Rooms at John's, right? We list it on booking.com, Agoda under our brand, and then you have nothing to lose. It's empty anyways, right? And you just pay us commission on this. That was the concept.
Okay.
Right? So
okay.
kind of let us sell your inventory under our global brand. It's not going to be a no name, but a brand name budget hotel. Did that for 2 years, did all kinds of digital marketing, grew the business. As it often happens, investors didn't come through. Typical in startups. So if any of you are thinking of starting, etc., you got to be ready for that.
100%.
Yeah. And with Rocket Internet, the thing was that they pulled the plug very fast. So unlike traditional investments where they say, hey, we're giving you $2 million.
And it's like crunched out or like whatever.
And instead they're like your mom or something like that. They give you lunch money every month. And if they're unhappy, they're like, stay on water for this month, please. So I had to, until the business survived. Funny story, right? Like every single startup I've been with experienced big difficulties, but they all survived and or exited.
Okay.
So the business survived. But at that stage, I had to get rid of the whole marketing team. I also was a bit dissatisfied, even though they tried to retain me, but it's not the same once like, things like that happen in a business. And that's how I transitioned into accounting. Long story of my journey into accounting.
Okay.
I decided to do something else in a global market to show that I can, I didn't just go kind of downshift in Bangkok or something like that, right? That I'm a global startup professional. And I found a company that I worked with before I founded Skrooge. It's called Awesome. Digital accounting in Singapore. Grew, I joined early on, a couple hundred clients in Singapore. I was in charge of partnerships, marketing, market launches. So the commercial side of the business, worked with them for 5+ years. Grew them significantly to 25,000 plus clients, understood what worked, what didn't work at scale. This was pre-AI times. So to properly automate accounting and digitize corporate services, it was very tough. So you needed a huge team to deliver on that promise. And still it was very tough to deliver. So I stayed there. Growth was there for a while. Then kind of started plateauing because product development was not moving at the speed of acquisition.
Okay.
Right. Imagine we were onboarding the equivalent of an accounting team every month, like an accounting company, right? How many clients they have, we onboarded them. But to automate that, it's very tough in the end.
Yeah.
Right? Clients became a bit dissatisfied, right? That affected our acquisition. I decided, okay, that's enough for me. Got a bit tired, as you do in commercial roles sometimes. Ideas run out, and moved on to explore my own entrepreneurial journey. But I understood how digital accounting, digital corporate services works, what's good about it, what's not good about it, how to scale, how to get clients. And through a couple more iterations, I got together with my current partners who are ex-investors, and they also had a good understanding of the market. And we started Skrooge AI about a year ago in UAE, because this market is very interesting. It's very interesting because changes are happening here in terms of regulations in the last few years.
Big time.
VAT introduced, corporate tax introduced. You need to audit, you need to provide financial statements, which was not there before. So this market is very fresh. Because changes are introduced and before they were not happening, the quality is uneven, right?
Yeah.
You don't get the UK style of this accountant served my dad, right? So like there's no way they're switching to you. Here, 80% of the people we speak to, they had a bad experience beforehand, and which opens the door for us, right?
What's the bad? I'm happy you brought that up. So like, what's the? Because I don't look. I'm. All my questions are as someone who knows fucking nothing about like this. All right. So, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I hired an accountant. I hire accountant A and accountant B. What's the difference? Like, how do I know? Or like, why is this guy good and why is this guy bad? Like, where do you see that answer? You know, because in my mind, I'm like, receivables, like there's a structure to it. Follow it and do it. But again, I don't know, so you have to tell me.
So good question. The most obvious sign is if you get fined. Obviously,
Okay.
Like I get a lot of people come to me. Oh, I didn't do something. For example, register for VAT on time. If you don't do it, when you cross the threshold, you have 30 days, you miss it, 10,000 dirham, boom. A lot of people come to us with problems like that. Like, oh, my accountant didn't let me know because they're not tracking your deadlines, right? That's an obvious case, but it's more common than you'd think. Less obvious cases are they ask questions about something that happened way in the past, right? So they would ask you about transactions from half a year ago. They're very slow at preparing your financial statements. So they don't do it, for example, on a monthly basis within 2 weeks after month end. They're still doing July now, right? And it's February.
Okay.
Big mistake, right? Because first of all, you put yourself at risk of, I missed the threshold, I missed the deadline. And another issue with requests that are late is, what if your documents are incompliant? Right? So what if your supplier sent you an invoice that you cannot use as a tax deductible? Because let's say it's in your name and not the company name. If it's half a year later, you can't change it anymore, right? They used it to file themselves. Things like that, right? The speed at which accountants move. And the traditional guys, they're typically slower because it's a manual process, especially at scale. And another one would be how they communicate. Right? Are they proactive or reactive? Right? Do they tell you about what needs to happen, or do you have to chase them all the time, like they owe you money? Right? Those are the main signs that we see that are very obvious. And then once we speak to future clients, we take a look at their books, at their setup, and then we find out that a lot of issues are also hidden in their books.
Yeah, and on your point, so obviously I had someone on the podcast previously who we touched on these aspects, and one of the things I learned in that conversation with accounting is it's still typically seen as, to your point, reactive, not proactive. So at the end of Feb, I will sit down, I will give my accountant my numbers and whatever, but I don't have. What if I had that information in real time and I could get that answer, whatever, what kind of business decision I could make that would save me potentially a lot of money?
That's a wish that many founders have. And the reality is that there is a healthy middle ground.
Okay.
Because oftentimes you get super reactive, super delayed services.
Okay.
And also some founders just want it done like that, right?
Okay.
And one thing that is important to remember is that accounting is based on supporting documents, right? Okay. The whole purpose of accounting is to show, first of all, to understand what the numbers mean to yourself, right? Do you have runway? What's the cash flow looking like? What's the profitability? So you can make the right decisions. But also, when you pay tax, why everybody started doing accounting more urgently now, right? When you pay tax, you can't just say, I have 500,000 dirham costs. You have to support them with documents, every single one of them. That is why it's so important to keep invoices, receipts, bills somewhere stored. And founders wish that everything was done very fast. And they kind of forget that it's a partnership, right? Accountants base their work on the documents that the founder provides, or the team, or somebody, right?
Interesting.
And it's only as fast as you do it. The biggest, let's say, risk of miscommunication that we come across with even our clients, or in the past, in my experience, was the different expectations in terms of outcomes, right? Founders just want everything done fast, but they are not very diligent about sharing supporting documents themselves. They're late themselves, and they're like, why haven't you done my books yet? And typically we would say, well, we need your bank statement, we need your invoices and all the supporting documents. We'll make it as easy as possible from our side, but in UAE, there's no open banking right now, right? So I cannot connect to your bank account and just through API download everything easily, like in the UK, for example. So I need you to send me the bank statement. If you don't do that, you don't get your accounts.
Okay,
that's important.
That's a really good point, because I think historically, from my experience, my perspective, it's always been, that my accountant's late or whatever. You forget that to your point, he can only do his job to the best of what you give him.
Yeah.
You know, accounting, it sounds to me like it's the reorganizing and like where are we right now kind of function. You know, that's what it kind of gives you, if I've understood correctly.
It's proactive in terms of notifying you what and when needs to happen.
Sure.
But it is based on what you give them. It's kind of like, if you want to be super analytical about your business, look at numbers and everything. In order for that to happen, you need to build a database.
Of course,
right?
yeah. Of course.
That's the same concept. If you don't build a database, how are you going to build these sexy graphs that show you everything?
Yeah, and it's not just about having the data in order. It's about how good was, like, how useful is the data, how recent is it, like that. Because to your point, you can only do to the best of what you give me.
Yeah.
But also, if I've put in the data on this document like garbage, you're still fucked, because I haven't done this part properly. And it sounds to me like there's a lot of attention on part 2 of the problem, but not enough maybe education or awareness on how important part 1 is. That's what it sounds like to me.
That is indeed the problem, and I like to say that we're half an edtech company, because I do talks, webinars. I try to educate founders, and oftentimes I come up to a new business owner and I say, hey, have you registered for corporate tax? And it sounds like I'm trying to sell something, but actually,
it does.
I kid you not, maybe 20% of the time they don't know what I'm talking about, and I save them a fine, right? Because I came across cases where I do outreach sometimes, and I wrote to a person on LinkedIn like in August, and then I meet them half a year later at an event, and I'm like, oh, let's connect on LinkedIn. And turns out we're connected already. I already wrote to them. And turns out, and I'm like, shouldn't have ignored me, you know?
Yeah.
I educated you.
I tried to help you.
I tried to help you.
Yeah.
And for me, I will be the happiest person ever if people come to me before there's an issue. That's why I try to educate and reach out, because it's much easier, right? Once you already have an issue and you come to me and you say, oh, help me get rid of this fine, that's not how it works, unfortunately, guys.
Yeah.
Right? You can't just say that, oh, I forgot, I don't want to pay.
Tough shit.
Right? But we make it as easy as possible. Back to your point about documents and clarity, and that the founder needs to do it as well. Our job is to make document collection as easy as possible from our side. That's the AI part and the technological part of the business. So we have multiple ways to collect documents. We do it through WhatsApp and Telegram chatbots. So you're in a cafe, snap a picture, open up your WhatsApp, throw it into the bot. We will recognize it, download it into the platform, parse it for compliance, and just add it to your stack of documents, right? Then in terms of inbox, one of the biggest pains for founders is sending all those invoices half a year later or whenever, searching for invoices in an inbox. Your accountant comes to you and like, oh, look, I'm missing, all those whatever Uber, Anthropic, ChatGPT receipts. Where are they? And you're like, where are they?
Yeah, like where the hell are these?
Right?
Yeah, of course.
And you go and search in your inbox. We remove that need because we connect to your inbox through setting up filters and forwarding the emails.
Okay.
So our chatbot helps you set up a filter that would filter out specific emails that contain the word invoice or receipt or some other parameters. It's going to get put into a folder and then forwarded to a dedicated email automatically. That then, again, puts it into our system, parses, compiles everything. So we use it for ourselves, and that removes the need to go and search across many different systems. But some documents would still be required, like the bank statement, right? Unless you
Yeah.
want to give us access to your bank, which not every client wants to, you still need to download it and give it to us. But we are working on a few solutions with a few providers, and stay tuned. You might see something happening out there in terms of direct integrations. But of course, very eagerly waiting for open banking, because the blocker often is the bank statement, right?
Okay.
You got to provide it for me to match everything.
And maybe could you explain to us a little bit more about what open banking is? Because it's the first time that I've even heard of it. Because just to give people context of what does that mean and what are the advantages that we expect to come.
Generally speaking, open banking is the ability for third parties to connect to your bank, and for you to give them certain rights to get the data from the bank account, or to push transactions out. And it's present, for example, in the UK market, right? And there are big connectors like Plaid that make this possible,
Okay.
right? This requires some work on the bank side to have an API connection open. This requires some work on the regulator side.
Isn't this like a crazy security risk to like be licensing out third party, like give third party people access to that? I don't know how comfortable that would be.
It's very much regulated. That is why it takes time as well,
Okay.
right? So the central bank, or whatever the regulating authority is, they need to authorize this connection, right? There's specific parameters of what can be done, what can not be done, who approves. So it's kind of like a bit more. There's a bigger risk, but it's a similar way how you sign in using Google or something.
Sure. Yeah. Fair.
And you trust Google that they're not going to screw up, right? Or you trust AWS, and when you put your data into the cloud, because they invest so much money into it. Same way. It's very much regulated. There's a very limited access, right? Nobody can go and send the money to themselves or something. So usually the use cases are, I can download transactions automatically, so they get into the accounting system, or I can set up transactions if you give me rights.
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna set up a bunch of payments for salaries, for example, and just go in and approve instead of doing it all yourself, because it takes a lot of time as you scale.
True. And like you said, as you scale, the complexity of this function just gets added with more documents, more people, and it just like builds from there.
Yes.
And when you were talking about, so one of the things about accounting is you have the best like sales question to ever ask.
Yeah.
Have you done your corporate tax? Because there's a fear behind it. If I don't do it, I'm going to be in violation, paying, it looks bad on my record, and.
Yes.
But so I learned from my previous conversation that changing human behavior, though, is very difficult, right? So that's why things like fines are the only things that are gonna like make me get up my ass and like sit down. All right, I need my books to be in order and so on. But I think, because I don't look at accounting like HR, but there are certain business functions that I've seen in the region that are very seen as just extras.
Yeah.
Like not without any value or resources or support given to that function. But if you treat that function like a core part of the business, it can actually do a lot for you. So I want to start talking about or giving people a new perspective on, it's not accounting, having your books in order is not just about not getting fined. There's actually, if you do it right, a core business benefit to doing that. So could you give us that perspective?
Of course. We come across many different clients, right? Some are big, some are small, and usually accounting, compliance is something that is not on the top of the mind of the founder when the business is young, especially.
Exactly, yeah.
Because you're worried about the viability of the business in
sales,
general.
yeah.
You need sales, you need to focus on that. And that's when you are at risk of hitting fines and having issues, right? Now, eventually businesses graduate to a more stable state. Oftentimes that happens around VAT registration time, right? When you have 375,000 plus of dirham of taxable supplies. That's when businesses start thinking, okay, I need to file regularly. I need to be on top of things because I can pay more or less tax, right? And the business probably is profitable at this stage, unless if you're bootstrapping and you're worried about it more, right? But accounting and tax is not only a compliance function, right? Of course, it is That's the large part of it, right? Big incentive. Why you need it in general is because you want to understand how much tax you gotta pay and prove it, right? And the big incentive and the big push in the market is the need to file taxes, right?
Yeah.
And one of the misconceptions I come across also is that, oh, I'm a dormant business or I'm unprofitable. I don't need to pay tax, so I don't need to bother. You need to file, right? Even if you don't have a bank account, you need to file.
And this is, I'm happy you brought this up because this is something I've never understood. Why do I need to file if I'm under the threshold, if there's no like penalty I have to pay? You know, like what's my incentive of filing when I don't have to file?
Who knows that except for you, right?
Okay.
That's the whole.
Okay.
That's because you need to prove to you need to show the tax authorities. Like basically, it's the equivalent of coming by their office and saying, "Hey guys, look at this. I don't need to pay, right? But just so you know, I don't need to pay because you also can pass the threshold and not file." Right?
Yeah, true.
Right.
And what? How does it? So is it? This is my the question I was thinking. 'Cause I was thinking about this the other day. Is it? When does the VAT kick in? You said 370, right? But is that 370 of like is it in like a certain time period? Because if I look at it like, oh, this was okay, the contract was for this, but now I'm in 2026. Some of that's been paid, so the value of the contract for this year isn't what it was. Do you get what I'm saying? It becomes a little bit confusing.
Yeah, generally it's 12-month rolling.
12-month rolling.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, it depends on a case-by-case basis, but very roughly it would be close to the revenue figure that you have.
Okay.
Right? It depends on the specifics, right? So that's why you talk to the specialists. But roughly, when you see your revenue picking up and getting close to that 375 on a rolling basis, and you hit the threshold, boom, 30 days, you gotta register. Yes. Now voluntarily you can do it at 187.5K, and some businesses might want to do it because for all your costs of supplies, etc., you're paying VAT, right? You're paying 5%, and when you're also VAT registered, you can take advantage of that to charge back a bit. Yeah. So. Yeah, basically the threshold is 375. When you get close to it, you gotta make sure that you register.
Okay. And so when we were talking about accounting as a function, and it's the misconception is people think it's just
Oh yes,
this thing that just needs to get done and so on. But also there's people sometimes will say, like I've heard, like, oh, he's a good accountant.
Yeah,
she's a good accountant, whatever. What's like, I don't know, and I'm sure it's a dumb question because obviously if I look like, oh, what's an editor for this and that, you'd be like, oh, from the outside it's the same. But I know it's not so. Not from a approach perspective of being, I'm sure, communicative, proactive, who is knowledgeable. That's what you'd want. From an outcome, like the outcome-based side, how do I look at this and be like, oh, that guy is the best, and this guy's like shit. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good question, and yeah, we covered why accounting is important for tax. Right? That's the compliance part.
Yeah,
but it's not only about that. For a big aspect of it is also compliance in front of investors, right?
True.
Once you raise money or you want to raise money, you got to show some numbers, right? So that's another part of it. It's kind of like an equivalent of tax, but for investment purposes. And then the third aspect, which I find to be the most undervalued, but probably the most important, is having financial clarity yourself, right? Because you need to understand, is the business profitable or not? And many people I speak to, they don't even know what their revenue is, right? They're like, I don't know, approximately, how are you going to grow? How are you going to understand where to invest your resources, which products are profitable or not, what to focus on, what not to focus on, what to cut, etc. If you don't even know your sales, right? So the basics, things like that. Then you need to understand your cash flow because profitability is not the same as cash flow, right? And the biggest,
very true.
The biggest killer of business is you run out of cash tomorrow, you're done.
Yeah.
That's it. And that can be a big surprise.
True. Yeah.
Right? Without proper accounting, bookkeeping. And a good accountant good accountant would help you set up your finances in such a way that would reflect your business specifics. For example, setting up a custom chart of accounts, right?
Okay.
So how does your P&L look based on what you want to see, right? What you want to break out as cost items, etc. A good accountant would be proactive in terms of, in this market, proactive at least in terms of deadlines and what needs to happen when, and notifying you, hey, you're nearing the VAT threshold, right? Be prepared.
Yeah. And I'm guessing you guys also do that with your platform. Like giving you
course.
heads up, like, yo, letting you know this is what I need, this is what's coming. And how, before you continue, just curious on this part, how long in advance will you start like pinging me like, yo, Khaled, taxes in 30 days, bro. You're gonna do it? Are you gonna tell me at the beginning of the month or 2 months out? You know, when's the notification period?
It depends on how much time and effort needs to be put in to do the job.
Okay.
And
what dictates that?
Before,
What dictates how much time and effort is gonna put in? How many? Because if let's say you're filing year-end taxes, isn't it gonna take the same amount of time and work, or is it a little bit? Maybe it's a little bit different.
It's different.
Okay.
It's different.
Okay,
So
okay.
corporate tax, for example, there are 3 general regimes you could file under. There's the small business relief, which many businesses took advantage of last year. If you are under 3 million dirham in revenue, you just need to declare your revenue number and you have 0% tax and no need to prove anything. That's one, right? The amount of work there is filling in the system. 2, you have the regular regime, right? Where you need to essentially fill the P&L inside the system, right? 3 is QFZP, which is for free zone companies that want to take advantage of the 0% tax regime.
Okay.
But in order to do that, they need to be a qualified free zone person, which means their activities need to fall under whatever is listed as qualified for those free zones.
Gotcha.
They need to have audited financial statements. They need to prove that, okay, I'm qualified because A, B, C, D, need to provide all this proof. So these are like the difference between I just show you my revenue versus I have audited financial statements and I have proof that all this is qualified and with an opinion. This is very different.
Okay.
So depending on what it is you want to do, this takes more time or less time. Now, of course, if we are doing your accounting day to day, everything is faster because the principle that we used to work is we do our job as soon as documents come in.
Okay.
That's the automation part. So, for example, you send us invoices, you send us financial documents, that's supporting documents. We check them, we ingest them and check them for compliance automatically right away. Not when we file half a year later, right? So right away we'll tell you, look, this invoice isn't compliant. You go and change it. And that's a big difference between us and somebody who is manual, right? Because your accountant, your accountant probably is not doing the job right away, right? Like, because your accountant, if it's a traditional player, they have many clients and you send them something, they will probably do the work at the very last moment. That's the traditional way it's done.
Yes, that's what I've heard a lot. Yeah.
Right? And which means if something could have been improved, it probably would not be. Because they're not going to go and check your documents manually right away if they know filings half a year later and you don't need anything from them. But we do it up front because we have automations.
Yeah.
Right? They don't sleep, they don't get sick, etc. So we notify you, okay, these documents are incompliant, there's an issue, go change please, right? And like what is incompliant? Since we do it up front, we reduce the amount of work and issues that come up later on.
Sure.
So for us, filing is faster, right?
Fair, yeah.
And we would usually let you know, let's say like a month ahead, etc. Okay. You need to do this and this. If there's work required from your side, oftentimes it's not, right? We already set up the proper accounting workflow. We collected all your documents. You're sending them at a regular interval. We check them for compliance. We fixed all the issues. So it's like that.
Okay, and so on the accounting side, because I think what's interesting is also I feel like there's an education piece that you probably have had to do more than you thought about. Not about like, work with, put it in this API, this is how you do it, but more on teaching founders like, hey man, for this kind of document, this is what this means, this is what that means, because they need to, if they're putting in the data, they also need to be educated on what I need to put where and why do I need to put it where. Have you found that has become a big part of what you're doing?
Yeah. When we onboard clients, we teach them about how to raise invoices, how invoices when you're VAT tax registered differ from invoices that you raised before that. What is required to be in the invoice, right? How your supporting documents that you receive, how they should be structured, what data you need to provide the counterparty. We educate business owners a lot on that proactively. And of course, some people sometimes forget, business owners are busy, and then we re-educate and highlight it when the documents come in.
Gotcha.
Right, and we're like, okay, there's an issue there, right? This is what we need to fix. So it's a partnership, let's say, because we don't go and don't tell their counterparty or supplier for them, like, hey, make sure you raise an invoice to ABC Limited instead of John. Make sure the tax registration number is there and 20 other parameters. But we educate the business owner and keep repeating it until it becomes second nature to them.
Gotcha. And like you said, the advantage that you guys do is that you become an active, like a living player as an extension of their business. So everything is, to your point, you're collecting documents every month to make sure they're compliant. So when year end comes, we have 11 months, guys, it's all being clean. We know the workflow, we know what to do. And I guess what you guys also do is not just take the document and say, is this compliant or not? Putting it in the right order of where this needs to go in when we file, like digitally probably, right? So you got this in this folder, this in that, and now you have your folder of authorized tax ready to go. Is that that's kind of the idea, I guess?
Yeah. The idea is to do the prep work as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And we store the documents. I covered getting documents into the system, but we also store the documents for the business owner. One of the headaches is having to create Google Drive folders for each month, and then in February you have my Uber receipts, my Google Ads receipts, this and that, which is annoying. And then you are like a data manager, admin person, right? Like, and then it's not easy to check. Okay, are all my Uber receipts like for each month there or not? Because you cannot slice and dice.
Yeah, of course. Folder. Yeah.
So we do it for you as well.
Okay.
Because for me, it's one of the most annoying things I have to deal with. The way we store data for you is like a pivot table format. Right, so you can filter, you can take a look at all your invoices from OpenAI or something like that, right? And you'll see the dates, the numbers, the sums, when it was uploaded. You see if anything is missing, and if an audit comes, and over time it will come more and more frequently.
Sure.
They can request any documents for any date, up to 7 years in history, and you will just have access to it. You're like, boom, that's it, right?
That's
like,
it. Yeah.
No folder management. The prep work is critical, right? Like the sooner you do all this stuff, the easier it will be, right? Like you're 100%. Not gonna eat burgers for a year and then run a marathon. And let me train for one day.
That's a good way to put it.
Right? So same thing. Like you put in the work now, and then when it comes time to perform, it's easy like that.
It's easy,
right?
yeah.
Same analogy.
And I know for you guys, I know the business or the model is two different components. There's like the automation aspect that we've been talking about of making documents, ensuring they're compliant, easier to submit and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the AI, more tech side.
Yes.
But you've also said that the other half is you have a dedicated person, human at the end. Why did you think? Because now everyone's building now is like, no, fuck the human. Just use this platform. You don't need the human anymore. Why, for you guys, were you insistent that the end user at the end of the day has to be a human?
It's based on experience.
Okay.
And actually, people sometimes get weirded out when I say we have human accountants. Like, are there
lizard
accountants?
Are you old?
Or like,
what?
It's like, because there's AI, right? Basically, what we do is we automate what junior bookkeepers usually do through AI. Right?
Okay.
So, like, what does your bookkeeper do if it's a junior? They go and get your invoice. They put it on the table. Let's say if it's old school, right? They read it. They check for issues, mark it with a pen. Then they go and do data entry into the accounting system, be it Zoho Books, QuickBooks, or whatever. And then somebody else checks their work. So instead of needing to have this, sometimes not qualified, right? Oftentimes cheap, 100% somewhere else outsourced, right? Like instead of needing to have this person, we have. That's the AI part, right? It's more precise. It's like 97% precise, and it learns better. It doesn't quit, etc. So then the human accountant manages the system. They don't manage a team of 5 juniors. They manage the system. They teach it. The system learns your context, how you like to do things. If documents are similar, it just automatically checks them in the same format. And then the accountant that comes in, they do the actual books. And like the level of involvement that they need to have is constantly decreasing, let's say, and moving more towards advisory and management as we continue improving and building the product.
Gotcha. Okay.
But they're always there to advise, do filing, let you know about what needs to happen, what changes there are in the regulations. And why this human is important is because when it comes to business finance, it's something that is people are very afraid of making mistake in. There are two main states for a person here. Like first, I don't care at all.
Yeah.
And then usually when they get a fine or something like that, or something clicks, like, oh, okay, now I'm really afraid of screwing up, right? And when you're really afraid of screwing up, how are you gonna know that subconsciously, right? How are you gonna know that this system, this automated system that tells me everything is okay, it's gonna be okay, right? Like everybody has faced those ChatGPT messages.
You want that final check.
You want the final check, and you want somebody to speak to in case something comes up, right?
Yeah, especially when it comes to numbers, like this banking finance world. Someone was telling me once on a podcast, like, look, there's all these automations now for banks. You call, press 3, press fuck all these guys. At the end of the day, you want, and I think especially because it's money related, you want to speak to a person to be like, oh, Vlad, thank you. Finally, I got to you. Are you sure this is right? Cool. Okay, now I can go to sleep.
Yeah. Because also robots are robots, right? And people feel like through an emotional connection on the extra context, the person will understand me and will be willing to do more for me, right? Rather than an algorithmic bot.
Sure.
And it provides peace of mind, right?
Yep.
So that's why there's a human aspect in there. It provides peace of mind, and you just need somebody to talk to, right? That's it. Over time, eventually, I don't rule out, this becoming very, very automated, where even your advisor is an AI tool. But I would say that the market is not at that level yet. First of all, in terms of clarity of communication of the tool, and in terms of the precision of the advice, right?
Yeah.
It's not there yet.
Yeah.
That's one. And two, the people are not ready for it yet.
That's the thing.
Right?
Yeah. From a behavior perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We could have robot cafes everywhere already, right? That do your espresso, right? And you've seen this at Expo 2020, etc. There's a robot that just does your coffee.
Can do everything for you.
Why are they not everywhere? Right? Because you still want that human connection sometimes, and somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
And the fact that we automate a lot of the junior work away, we are able to hire a team of seniors, right? That have been there, done that. They have seen a lot of cases in different industries in the UAE, and they will advise you based on their experience, right? The AI needs to learn as well, right?
Yeah.
So it needs some time and cases to learn, understand, because we build something based on the context of the data we receive, right? It's not just, hey, let me connect ChatGPT and it's just gonna search the internet and tell you.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of AI I'm talking about, right? Like It learns based on your experience, your data, how you communicate with us, what you like. It's very, over time, it will become more and more precise.
Sure.
But of course, at this stage, it doesn't have the 10 years of experience or whatnot of a senior accountant that comes in and tells you how it should be done and lays it out for you. So that's the combination that works best.
So it's really interesting how the model is you've removed a lot of the junior work, so you're leveraging now, like instead of hiring those 10 junior guys to do this, I have my AI tool that will do that for me now, but I need this guy with 10 years of experience to be the final strategic layer, which also makes the offering a lot beefier. Yeah. Because that's what the tool's cool, you're taking ahead, but that's the guy I really, I think putting those two together is actually a very smart idea.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about, I was thinking throughout this conversation, I'm like, okay, I know accounting is all about numbers, but from what it sounds like, good accountants also have a pretty good legal understanding too, because I think those two worlds play right into each other, and people don't probably look at them in the same way. There's a lot more overlap than I thought by the sounds of it. Yeah.
A good accountant, there are limits to this, of course.
Yeah, sure.
But a good accountant would be able to advise you on more than just the numbers. They will be able to provide an opinion on how things work process-wise here when you file and you have an issue that you want to resolve, and we do a lot of that extra work with clients. Yeah, for sure. Like an accountant, a good accountant is like your advisor.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And clients
yeah.
come to us with questions that go beyond maybe, okay, what does this number mean in my books for January? Then we're ready to support because we have the senior guys.
Exactly, yeah. So, and then when you look at accounting, we talked about the tech aspect, we talked about the function. Where do you, now though things are, as you said, as they become more automated, as they keep moving down this space, it's not will AI replace accounting? I think it can to a probably very high level, but the human behavior part is not. That's the area that I think is going to take with all AI in any space. That's the thing that's going to take the longest to change.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So the focus is to replace or reduce the reliance on junior level legwork.
Sure, which makes sense.
And that's actually the part of the job that nobody really wants to do, right? Even accountants, right? Like what they want to do is they want to advise you, they want to talk to you about your numbers, analyze maybe. They don't want to type in invoices. Right? So accountants are also very happy they don't have to do it anymore.
True. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And yes, like the juniors, they will need to grow into advisors, or they're not going to be there.
Yeah.
I think.
And when you look at accounting now as because in the space that you are, it's not just about the know-how. The platform is a significant part. So I'm sure you add features and layers to the platform based on what you're hearing from your clients and so on. But I spoke to a guest recently, and he's like, at Google, they used to tell their employees like 20% of your time you can spend doing whatever, you can work on whatever non-work related, conflict project. And apparently Gmail was one of those projects. Some guy was just like making it because he couldn't search through email, whatever. And now look at Gmail has become the most important thing, like one of the biggest emailing platforms. So I'm curious in your experience, because you're an accounting platform, but also you're a business. So you also have accounting and accounts, right?
Yeah.
So like, was there any functionalities or stuff that you add to the platform that you develop through the challenges you guys are facing that you're like, oh, actually, this could be very helpful to like other people?
Yeah, the initial core focus of the product is all about the challenges we face as well.
Okay.
I really, really, really hate having to search my inbox for supporting documents to send them. It annoys me a lot, right? And reducing this need to do this work is a blessing. I really, really don't like storing documents and folders and managing this stuff, because admin naturally, I'm a marketer, commercial growth guy, right? Like everybody is asking me to get more clients. I don't have time to go and find where's that invoice from whoever, right? So the initial core product features, they are based on our pains as just as much as the business owners' pains that they face typically, right? And then further down the line as we develop, so some features like we're working on an invoice creation tool, right? When you're on the go, for example, I'm sitting with you here, or I'm making my move towards the taxi, and I see a client is ready to pay. I want to raise an invoice. I don't want to have to go into the system or pull out my laptop. So we're developing features like through a chat. Through a chatbot, you can say, okay, raise invoice for this so-and-so. Boom, it raises it, it sends it whenever it needs to go. That's it, you're just chatting. So things like that.
Okay. That's actually very, I think that's the idea. I think what is really important that I've learned through the conversations I've had on this topic is being at my fingertips. That's the way that me as a user gets the most value out of platform. And that's the way that you, from a business perspective, is I'm going to think, yo, this tool is sick, which leverages on, what you guys are doing, right? That's kind of like and WhatsApp seems to be that place, right, where people seem to be using it the most. Is that how it works?
WhatsApp, yes.
Yeah.
I honestly prefer Telegram.
Okay.
Because it has better functionality as a chat platform.
Sure.
But both are equally good in terms of helping clients out. So we communicate with clients over WhatsApp. The chatbots are there, and the goal for the company essentially is to save clients time, save clients money, and save sanity, right? Like I don't want you. My goal is for you to not have to focus on accounting so much,
Yeah.
right? To focus on more than zero, right? They care about it, but you don't need to do a lot of work.
Yeah.
I don't want you to pay a lot because in this market, it's very intransparent. You go on any company's website usually, and there's no price anywhere, right? And what they often do is first they talk to you, and they're like, "Okay, where are you from? You know, are you from, let's say, Bangladesh? Or are you from the U.S.?" Right? And like, guess what that affects?
Yeah.
Right?
Big time.
And I don't like that. Our prices are transparent on the website, and we like saving you money and being cost effective, right? We're not the cheapest. That's not the goal because there are super cheap players in the market,
Sure.
and you'll get what you pay
Yeah,
for.
it's okay. You come to them after you try those guys.
Exactly. And so cost effective, best price quality in the market, and sanity wise. That's the part with everything is at my fingertips. I am confident that my team has got my back, and that's the sanity is where the human aspect comes in. Like John or whoever my accountant is, like they're on top of things. I can ask a question anytime. It's like having an advisor, and I got to raise an invoice. I can do it now. I have a question. I just quickly ask it in the chat on the go, easy.
And when it comes to, I wanted just to round off our conversation, Vlad, with a few more questions. I wanted to touch on the differences in when it comes to accounting challenges between big firms and small firms. Now, to your point in our conversation, we've been talking a lot of it about the founders, and they don't know, they don't think it's important. I've got more important things to worry about. Vlad, I gotta make sales and so on. So that's one side of their challenges. They don't think they need it.
Yeah.
And the challenge, I think, I'd guess with big corporates is we're so big and there's so much to do. Because you'd be in a way like doing a transformation change by bringing in like a platform like you guys to do all this and remove people and so on. So are the challenges the same no matter the size of the industry, or when you start going into levels, that's when things get a little bit more contextual and nuanced?
Yeah, some overlap, of course. Some challenges overlap, but it starts getting, you start getting a different set of problems once you do have an accounting team, right? So we discussed the founder or I do finance myself or I don't do it at all aspect where I want to save your time so you can focus on business growth, right? And when firms get bigger, they hire a team, they set up a process in one way or another, and then you start facing several issues. First of all, it's very hard to find a good accountant. We do a lot of interviewing to hire. We interviewed hundreds of people, so it's maybe a 10% rate or lower from interview to we get that person in the team, and interviews already kind of screened already. It's very hard to find a good person that is on our level that we require. So that's one aspect. You're going to spend a lot of time hiring. And you gotta, if they're in Dubai, you gotta get them a visa, you gotta get them medical, you gotta onboard them, you gotta teach them. Then they need a vacation, then they need the time off, they are sick, and then they quit because we're not in Japan and nobody works until they retire with you anymore, right? And they quit, context is lost, you need to repeat it again.
Onboard, and that learning curve takes time, that wheel,
And that's one big set of problems we come across. The context gets lost, especially when you have a small accounting team. We come across people who say, well, I have an accountant. And then they say, well, when was the last time you needed something and they were sick or they're on vacation, right? Urgently. That happens more often than you'd think, right? Or what are you going to do when they quit? Do you know your processes?
There you go.
Oftentimes context gets lost and you just lose it completely.
Exactly.
So that's one set of problems that you have. Then second set of problems is when you get a bigger team, you start trying to fix problems by hiring. So you get a lot of accountants doing, this repetitive work without automations, and then it still takes a long time because as the team scales, you get this managerial overhead and efficiencies creep up, etc. So we came across cases where it takes us forever to get documents in order, to collect them, to compile them, to do the data entry because it's a human. And then this one is off, this one is sick. I need to reshuffle responsibilities. I need to manage them, motivate them, do all this.
Yeah.
And yeah, in the end you get your end result, but it's like a managerial pain point.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
So how we usually work with teams like that is we take care of the, again, bookkeeping, accounting, and tax work. Right? The benefit of having us is instead of having, let's say, one accounting brain, you get a whole team who has many diverse experiences. They have seen things that maybe your accountant, the single person, hasn't seen. We're ready to advise. It's one aspect. Two, we don't get sick. We don't leave. We don't need a vacation. There's always somebody there to support you, right? And of course, in any company, there's eventually churn. People
Sure,
they're
of course.
not tied to the
Of course.
risk, right? But the beauty of having AI there is that we retain the context, right? We remember what you like.
It's your brain.
Yeah, we have the documents. We remember what you like. We remember how you like processing them, what your chart of accounts is, how you do things, right? So even if you're a dedicated accountant, one day changes from our side, it will be very easy to onboard them. It will be our pain point. You don't need to do the visa. You don't need to do the interviews. You can be safe knowing that the quality is going to be upheld, right?
Yeah.
And we are just going to make document work easier. We're going to do it faster. We're going to do the tax filing for you, etc. And we can free up your accountant if you want to retain them.
Exactly. Yeah.
To do budgeting, to do more work that it requires deeper knowledge of other aspects of the business.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So we don't aim to replace the team. We aim to get them something more interesting to work on, let's say.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's kind of the way you were framing it. It's kind of like how I like to position myself with the work I'm doing. Is I'm like with the podcasting business. I'm like I'm just an extension of your marketing team.
Yeah.
And we're going to be working together to obviously deliver the show that aligns with your values, your brand, and so on. But all you have to do is be like, oh, we recorded this, here you go. And you have, like, that's it. It's crazy how much we will pay.
Yeah.
And always, this is everyone, not just me, for convenience. No headache and make sure it's a good quality. Yeah, I will pay an extra 20% for that. That's fine. Peace of mind is priceless. So, and by the sounds of what you guys are offering, you're really taking a lot of headache and worry, not only off the business owner, but off the accounting team as well. So they're probably like, oh, thank you, bro. I don't have to deal with this bullshit now. And the owner's probably like, everyth's in order now and make sure they're compliant. And these guys are just there to do the other work. So it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll let you know that accountants also don't like to do this job.
Well,
work, right?
it's like, oh yeah,
nobody is dreaming of give me some more invoices, So we'll make everybody happier, and the more people appreciate this convenience, and clarity and continuity, the easier it will be for everybody.
100%. Just to round off, Vlad, I know you guys recently raised, so congratulations.
Thank you.
And just in under a year to go from where you guys are to now is very, very exciting. And I'm curious now if you could just maybe share with the audience, what were the lessons you learned through this founding? I know you've raised money before, but maybe for this market, maybe it's a little bit different. Tell us the things you've learned through this funding experience and what the idea was on why you needed to raise and all that.
Yeah. So first of all, why we needed to raise? Because it's a capital intensive business, specifically because we are a tech company, right? So we're not an accounting firm. We are a tech company that does accounting, right? You can bootstrap an accounting firm, eventually grow step by step, hire one accountant and get a client here there from your contacts. But we, first of all, aim to grow fast. And we want to invest into the product. Okay. In order to invest into the product, you gotta start doing it before you even generate revenue, right? And you gotta continuously invest into it, and it's expensive, right? Like as many people know, getting developers on board
and the good ones is expensive. They're expensive.
Even though now you need fewer people, which is a blessing that comes from this AI revolution, but you still need them, and you need good ones, right? They need to understand what it is they're doing. You can't just get an intern with Cloud Code and they're just gonna vibe code something.
But fair.
You'll feel it later.
Yeah.
So we have a small but solid team. So that's where the investment is going. You need to invest into brand building and marketing a little bit as well, because again, we don't wanna be one of the thousands of firms that are here in the market that just get clients through the contacts they know, and then they plateau because they cannot grow further. Right? That's not our aim. That's why. Now, in terms of how, it's a numbers game. Rejection is okay. You just gotta talk to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Continuously and iterate and learn. Most will say no. It's reality in sales and it's reality in fundraising even more because investors are quite conservative in general, and that's like in this market.
Yeah,
let's say,
sure.
right? Maybe in the US it's a little bit easier. You just have an idea and they're like, okay, cool, let's go. But there are many factors that come into
Of
play
course,
here.
of course.
Right? What is have you done this before? What is your background as a founder? Have you raised, exited, etc.?
Yeah.
Is this a warm intro or not a warm intro? What's the traction looking like, at least in terms of what you're building, right? Is it just a PowerPoint presentation now, or do you have something to show? That affects your progress. So you go reach out to a lot of people. Ideally, you get introduced because investors, they don't like you to chase them, right? It's like if they want you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah. 100%.
There and then comes this FOMO effect, right? The first person invests, and then you can say, well, these guys are already on board. We're closing the round. Are you in or not? And then it turns out that everybody is in all of a sudden, right? Nobody wants to be the first.
Yeah.
People don't like it when you reach out to them cold. Ideally, you get
Especially here.
somehow.
Yeah, especially here. Yeah.
And also, I would say, from my personal experience, investors here, institutional investors, they invest at a bit of a later stage.
Like Series A and on?
Like the seed level here, in terms of how far along you need to be, is maybe closer to Series A.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah,
Like
makes sense.
You need to. The conversations we've had, a lot of them ended on, well, come back in a year. Let's see some traction, some revenue. Projections, etc. Right? Which you need to get to.
Well, yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
You need money to get to.
100%.
So
yeah.
a bit later, because I don't have an answer because why? Maybe because a bit more conservative investment style. You want it to be more of a sure thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
So you gotta expect that, right? That a lot of the investors there will be liking you a lot, but they want to invest maybe in a year, right?
Okay.
So you need to figure out where you're gonna get the money from. Is it gonna be your own? Is it gonna be friends? And then if you have a network, that's much better, right? So because of our previous experience, we already had a network of investors, angels, GPs, etc., that were willing to put their trust in us, and that's what helps a lot.
Of course, yeah. And you already had built that network. You have that reputation. So when you came to them for this, it wasn't cold. Like, oh, we know what these guys have done, and we know if this is the idea. Okay, they've got some traction. We think we know where they can go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like they just believe in you, and then or somebody that they trust introduces you, and they're not going to introduce you just because you ask as well, right? Like the person that introduces you when it comes to investment, they need to believe that you are not going to make them lose face.
Of course, yeah. That credibility is priceless, though. If I brought you to this guy and he turns out this guy's useless, that affects me more than anything, with any deal. Yeah.
Exactly. When it comes to seed, it's on a rolling basis. So we raise through a safe note, which means we continuously just topped up, and it's very easy to structure it. And once the first investors come in, you have something to talk about. Of course, it's much easier to say, "Hey, we already have 1 million in the bank."
Yeah.
Versus you're going to be the first one or what?
Yeah, that's a big, very big difference. Very big difference. But thank you for sharing that story, because I think there's a lot of, especially in this market, everyone's looking for that. I think founders are looking for that. What's the formula to get funded? And it's just, besides all the stuff that comes later of like being later stage and they're more conservative, it's getting out there, building a network, having conversations. The guy next to you standing might be this guy, the guy that'll introduce you one day to the key, or the guy that you've been looking for the whole time. So it makes a lot of sense. Exactly. No, for sure.
Remember, it's a numbers game. Just keep going.
Right. Keep going and make sure the chemistry is right. I've always heard when you go for partnerships like getting married, so like make sure you're getting the right partner for your business too.
Aligned in your worldview and how you view in terms of how the business is supposed to grow.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. Vlad, to round off our conversation today, I've just got 2 more questions for you. These are questions I ask all my guests. So looking back at your life, either personally or professionally, when I ask you the question, What are you most proud of for yourself? What would you say?
Good question. I am most proud of continuously trying to say yes when opportunities arise. And I think that comes from my family as well. My family has a history of business, and we moved to Canada when my parents had 2 kids and like they were close to their 40s, etc., which is not an easy decision to make.
Of course not.
And
Yeah.
that taught me that you just gotta say yes, and something good will come, usually. So I learned that principle from them, and I stuck to it. And usually, move to Bangkok to, go do startup work. Sure, let's go. Right, like launch a company in UAE. You have to work for free for half a year. Okay, I see the potential, and I take those risks. So I'm proud of continuously trying to do that.
Yeah, no, I respect that a lot, man. I think anytime I would say if you just can just take one step outside that comfort zone, or because every decision there's always going to be a bit of risk, always some discomfort, always some insecurity. But if you can just take those little ones, they at the moment feel they seem nothing, but the momentum of that confidence feeling that can generate is like the engine behind it. So I appreciate that, man, and I couldn't agree more. I wish I could do that faster sometimes, but it's a skill. It is a skill, by the way.
We're all smart.
Yeah,
Right? You never know.
And from my last question, Vlad, what is the message you'd like everyone to take home with them today, man?
Keep going. Business, if you are thinking of starting a business or running a business, it's just a step-by-step improvement and often a numbers game, and prioritize. Their founders have 14-hour plus days or whatever. Sometimes days don't end. There's always more work to do than you have time. Keep going and prioritize. Focus on the big things and delegate everything else, because you don't want to let anything fall through as well.
Yeah, we don't want to be dealing with that junior bookkeeping shit, right?
Yeah. But you don't want to get those fines as well, right? Like, so delegate it to somebody.
Yeah, no, for sure, man.
Exactly.
No, I appreciate that, man. I think one of the struggles founders do have is prioritizing, because everything feels important, but like you learn obviously as time goes on what to focus on and so on, and usually things start to flow a lot better.
A lot of saying no.
A lot.
You gotta learn, yeah.
See, you got to say yes a lot, but you also got to say no a lot.
Yeah.
It's finding that balance.
Exactly. And that's you feel that eventually.
Exactly. Yeah. Vlad, my man, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show today, man. This has been a long time coming. It's been such a fun conversation. I love that we took a very different approach to this conversation compared to what I've had before. So more on the business importance of accounting, the true like pain that you guys are solving, why the human AI interaction is still very important, at least with the way things are behaving now.
Yeah.
So there's so much, I think, for anyone either who is a founder who doesn't know what the fuck's going on with his accounting, or is a big business that is looking for faster accounting, whatever. There's so much they can take away from this episode. So I want to say thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And if anyone wants to connect with you, work with you guys, check out Skrooge. Where can we get in touch? Where can we find you?
Skrooge AI. That's Skrooge with a K, just on the website. Or you can follow me on LinkedIn, Vlad Sharuda. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me.
Okay, perfect. We'll make sure to put all of that in the show notes. Vlad, thank you so much, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. Guys, to everyone listening, thank you so much. Please make sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe to the podcast. I hope it helps pod on all channels. And as always, guys, hope it helps. Peace. Yeah. My man.
That was very good. I enjoyed it.